Good morning, Amanda.
Good morning, good morning.
It feels like a really still day today, doesn't it? It feels nice.
It does feel very nice. We've done some, we're resetting some rituals around clearing the space, creating the space that we're walking into and sitting with our beautiful guests and each other.
Responsibility around the space.
Yes. Yeah.
That's been coming up a lot too.
So much. And we have a beautiful guest today that we have been gifted with many occasions to sit with on our monthly gateway. And this year we're changing that a little bit into a new space of conversation and what comes through, and creating a question and answer space.
Which is perfect because, as we all know, by now our listeners know, that we are evolving at a very fast pace. And so what was one thing last week is not the same this week. And we know that.
Yeah.
So that's why we're shifting and changing and moving into this new space where we have to go with what's right in the space.
Honor it. And actually it's about just hearing you say that, the whole bringing through what we intuitively deeply know and just going, if not now, when?
Oh, that's the scary place too. Okay.
Yeah, so we're gonna, here we are. We're here with Zhara.
Mahlstedt.
Welcome.
Oh,
so good. So good to be here, ladies.
We've had a little bit of, almost a sabbatical since we sat with you last, because you've been so busy with some pretty powerful things happening in your life too, and the gift that you're sharing with the world, which has been so exciting to see. And there's more about that later, but what we're sitting forward in today with you, with this question and angle around our conversations, just feels it's opened up a lot of freedom in what we can share and what is here to share.
It feels like there's a lot of space.
Yeah.
In your podcast as well, it just feels like such an incredible transition time for all of us here on planet Earth.
Yeah.
Each and every one of us, if we're ready for that ride.
Yeah.
And to really step up into that calling and that awakening of the self.
It's so true, that calling, and we've had a few guests on who have had that deep calling in lots of different ways.
Oh yeah.
Then it's discerning whether that's the right calling. How do we know that? How do we know? What are the signs?
So, Kunayana Siataya, if I may, your souls come here for a very specific purpose this time around. And it's not going to be the same for everyone.
Yeah.
So some of you, Kunayanasya, are actually going to get up and fight and start talking about things that are wrong. And that's your truth, and that's okay. And others are going to sit in that space of love and meditate every single day.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
And that's going to raise the frequency on Earth beyond what you could possibly believe. So if that's your calling, to sit on the earth and feel the love for the ground and each other, each and every day, that's what you do. And it will change moment by moment. So never lock yourself in to a reality stream where you have to conclude and you have to decide, right now, this is what my life is going to be like. Because it's not going to work that way. If you're here with a gift, and we all are, then the universe will conspire to take you on the path of least resistance to get where you need to be. And that might mean old timelines or relationships deconstructing so that you're no longer living the past, but you're living the brilliant version of the self that wants to come forward.
Living the brilliant version of yourself that wants to come forward. How amazing is it to just even acknowledge that in yourself?
Yeah. And are we ready for that?
and that's the age-old question. is when is the time. And the time is now.
Yeah.
It's always been now. It will always be now. Ganasya. But you get to choose when now is.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Each of our, and so it's like an interpretation, like each of our activation points, our awakening, as a part of that choice, self-awareness.
Yes. So that's a part of it, right? Kunayanasya, because you have a divine destiny code embedded in your DNA, and that will release when the activation's complete. When you're completely ready to face yourself in the mirror and say, Kunayanasya Daya, I'm going to live this day. But that time could be expanded rapidly if you decide to leave at certain touch points.
Yeah, right.
So there could be a window, a moment, an opportunity where you can get on track. And then that window could close for 1,000 years before it opens up again. And that's kind of like where we're at right now.
Yeah.
As a collective.
Yeah.
And so we each need to give birth to these new blueprints in order for us to move forward as a race. So don't think you're only doing it for you.
Yeah.
You're doing it for your children, their children's children, as well as everyone else on this planet.
Yeah. Wow.
And we're
There's
actually
a lot of responsibility in that, isn't there? I mean, that's another illusion, but it's like, I can feel in myself, and this has come up in a lot of conversations recently around, if you did get the call from a higher place or a higher source, that you need to go down this path because this is where your answers lie and this is for the greater good. Are you ready for that? And it could mean giving up things, big things. Are you prepared and ready for that call? Like we sit here and say, I just want to be an enlightened being. I want to, I want to be free and allow and, all these great, wonderful things that come with it. We know that's what comes with it. But are we prepared for the other side of that as well? Which is, it's not going to be all rainbows and unicorns. There are going to be some challenges and some decisions you're going to have to make and face and walk back through.
And taking your head out of the sand and looking at it for what it is, which is this great big playing field of creation, right? We're in a primordial soup. We're in a quantum universe. We can create it as we wish. And that's where free will choice comes into play. Because, say, if you have a calling to speak on a stage and to wake a whole bunch of people up, for example, like you two, you could choose that calling and you could go with it and you could move. Or you could sit back and say, no, not today. That's not going to be the day I do it. And you may never do it. And it's okay because there's a team around you. Think of this as a team sport, enlightenment and evolution. And so there'll be different touch points where you can exercise divine grace and move into your own rhythm with your own soul and live an extraordinary life. An extraordinary life doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be all perfect.
No.
But it means you are going to have the rainbows and the magic and the unicorns and everything that brings. But when you get there, you're going to need to see the other side because that's dualistic reality. So the more light you see, the more darkness that brings because the shadows need to come up. We need to see where we're holding ourselves back. And then you meet the middle road where it's all one.
The middle road.
And so it's a path, right? It's actually a long way and it's nothing all at once because it is you. But there are steps in that process of evolution. And where we go to is all up to us.
And it's taking out the I guess I love what you just said around it's all up to you, it's all up to me. And if it's like, and it's kind of what you said before as well, if it's all up to me, what is it that I want? What is my intention? Like, do I really even want to know what my purpose is, even though I'm asking that question? Because it might mean what you said, giving up some things, or it might mean looking at the shadows in the dark, whatever that means, you know, or, you know, not being right about some things that we feel right about, you know. There's so much kind of like, and then there's that thing of like, well, I can see the windows open, but I don't want to look at it because it means I might have to do this. The obstacles, as you just said, that we place in our path to allowance and freedom, it's our own prison, isn't it? That we can create.
Yeah.
That's it. Do you want to break out of the cell?
Yeah.
And it starts with your intent. So I want to live a happy, expanded life. I want enlightenment. I want joy. I want freedom. What is it that you want? And that's the birthplace of creation. When you start with that intent, that word, that's going to send you on a trajectory.
Yeah.
That's going to send you on a path. So you get to play. You get to choose what it is that you see in every moment, in every day. But if you do choose for greatness, keep in mind, anything that's not aligned is going to come tumbling down.
Yeah. And that's part of the beauty of it, isn't it? That's the duality. I was just thinking, I want to just go back a few steps. When you mentioned the podcast and, you know, how there's a real platform that is available, which we talk about a lot as well. The thoughts that come up in my mind, or the limitations that come up for me, is like, but there's people that have lots of money that do this and they're killing it, and like I can feel the little tiny niggles that come up and go, why would us here sitting in this little space be able to create that? And instantly I got, but you're in alignment. Like that was what came in straight away. Joe, don't limit yourself. You are in alignment. And so I'm only saying this for our listeners too, that sit there and go, I can't do it because that person's doing it and they're doing it so much bigger. It's not about that. And I think that's what we're breaking through on the planet now. It doesn't matter how much money you have, how big you are, how many followers, whatever you've got. If you're staying true to your intention for the greater good, you're taking responsibility, and all those things are in alignment with your true calling, that it is bound to happen. It's already happened. It's done, kind of thing.
It's completely done. And the thing, Joe, Kunayanasi, and Amanda, the thing that you may not see that I'd like to just shed light on is that when there's alignment, you actually have Christ encoding. So you actually have divinity unraveled in your DNA, and you're willing to access it. Everyone has the ability. You're doing it.
Yeah.
And you're doing it for the greater good.
Yeah.
This isn't selfish energy. This is serving the whole.
Is this why you're going to probably laugh at this, but is this why from this year I've been writing to Jesus?
So,
like, seriously, Amanda, I think Amanda's getting sick of me talk about Jesus.
No, it's a beautiful thing because I think it's so activating to have his voice, his name, his energy field activated in a way that's questioning and also loving.
I find it so interesting and intriguing, and I feel like, and when I say Jesus, I want to, probably the right word, and I just got this then too, is Christ consciousness. Yeah. That is the right word I want to use. I can feel it in me.
Yes.
And it's like, I even get emotional.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I can feel where he walked and his intention, and I can feel that in me.
Exactly.
It's wild.
And that's why your podcast is going to go off the charts. because your intent is pure in that space. And so if we look at Jesus as a being, all he was saying is, it's you.
Yes.
It's you. It's not me.
Yes.
It's you. Come back to you.
Yes.
And that's the Christed consciousness within,
Yeah.
that we're all, I'm going to use the word trying, but trying to access.
Yeah.
That's what we're all looking to access if we're on this path of the enlightened road, so to speak, right? Because it comes out of money, it comes out of duality, it comes out of the prisoner and trapped mentality, as well as the abuser and the victim. You're coming back into line with the heart and into the center place where you're able to see life for what it is, and each one of us for who we are. We are Kanasyataya. We are the Christ at all.
Yeah.
We are the original gift, right? And that contains everything. Everything. And Jesus' gift as an ascended master, and his role was to show you who you are. He didn't want you to follow him.
Yeah.
He wanted you to follow you.
Yeah.
He wanted you to follow you with all your heart and all your soul and all your might.
Absolutely. And I just want to add too, just for the listeners too, that I am not religious at all.
Yes.
Never been religious. Never read a Bible. I wouldn't even know what the Bible started with or ended with. You know, I've never, you know.
It's kind of like almost
It's hilarious.
And it all started with, and then it ended with.
Like I have no idea about anything. Like when it comes to all of that stuff, and I know that's separate from what we're talking about. But just so people know, I've never been a follower. Or I've never, you know.
But it's a beautiful thing in so many ways, because it's a lot of people that we've sat with have had to unlearn that process in their life.
Yes.
And the Christ coding that you're sharing, and that divine essence in our DNA has become concreted with all the teachings and the learnings that have swallowed us up and distracted us from that true connection to what is in our essence. So it's kind of a beautiful thing to not have that clutter.
It's huge, actually, to not have had the religious indoctrination. Because when people go for that, they give their power away to another being and another essence. And the entire purpose of it was to really put us in chains so we could see the way out. Right? It's all actually a play. It's all actually a play.
It's so true, isn't it?
And
So wild.
And it's so important for us to come back to the fact that we are that one. And that's not, it's not special because it's available to everyone.
Yeah.
And because it's available to everyone, it's a divine gift for you to share your essence on these calls.
Yeah.
And for everyone who can run that light already,
Yeah.
to share it with everyone else who's still waiting to see. Because it's available for each one of us to come back into alignment with the one. And when I say the one, I also mean source, original, infinite creator, the infinite divine intelligence of the universe, however you want to frame that. Because I'm not religious either. I did grow up in a religious school, and that took a lot of undoing. Took a lot of unlearning, right? And the programming goes really deep.
Well, it's to create disconnection, isn't it?
Yeah.
And separation straight away.
Yeah.
Well, and in the guise of community.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of beautiful people in religious communities. I didn't have religion in my childhood, but I did have a connection with a girls group, which was kind of like guides, but it was run by the Brethren Church. And beautiful, when I look at it, 3 beautiful women who, one was a widow, one had a disabled husband, and one had a interesting marriage. But 3 very powerful, very strong women who were actually, in their own way, like looking back, quite amazing role models as the women that they were, and their leadership, and not about religion or anything. Like, they used to take us on camps to the beach and in the forest, and would do all kind of amazing stuff and crafts and learning and things. But there was a definite an aspect, a content around religious studies, the Bible and things like that. So it was kind of a pleasant environment. It didn't feel indoctrinated or, like you must learn this off by heart and repeat it in front of everybody or this kind of thing. So it was a pleasant experience. And I remember feeling a lovely relationship with God and Jesus, and but just also treating it a bit like a fairy tale. Not actually having it sink into my being around this is the truth. It was more like a fairy tale. And I think there's a lot of different energy fields around how people experience God, Jesus, the way in their lives. That is
the saviour.
Oh, well,
what he's known as.
It's all about handing your power away.
Yeah.
I feel quite, just even saying this out loud, quite amazed that there was these very powerful ladies sharing this fairy tale as well as all these adventures in such an interesting combination for teenage girls that wasn't kind of, I guess, corruptive. Yeah.
And look, and I think we're all finding our way back to the truth. And some people need to take that road less traveled, where you give and you hand away like all societal structures, and you say, "Yep, I will follow you.
Yeah,
I will follow you." And it's a time when that's coming undone, and everyone's going to start to see the truth.
Yeah.
And so, what do we do when we come to that point where we see that, oh, it's not you, it's me. It's there's no blame, right?
Yeah,
So we can't blame the churches anymore. We can't blame the governments. We can't blame the husband, the wife, whoever, whatever, the babysitter, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
We have to take responsibility, and that's the way that we free ourselves. That's how we step up to the plate and become a real force of nature, because it's a natural gift.
Yeah.
To be free and to be able to express that freedom through your breath, through your very word, through your very intent. And that's when you move mountains and you make magic and you allow yourself to harness the infinite wisdom and the infinite grace of the cell, because it's all cellular sparks.
Ooh,
It's all cellular sparks. It's all internal rhythm. That's the Christed light.
Yeah.
That's the Christed light. It's not a halo around the head. I mean, it can appear that way, right?
Yeah.
It can appear as a golden light externally, but it's actually an internal flame that burns, and many of us see it as a reflection of the self in the external world.
Yeah.
But it is the internal insight into the cell, into the genetic structure, that allows that flame to burn bright. And so as you remove every layer of DNA, patterning and programming that also comes with trauma and violence and harm, you start to get more of the glow. It starts to come up. And so every little layer of muck or dirt has been this most incredible gift for you to access the pain and the suffering that we've been through as we've been removed from that original source and that original light. So that original flame is the one that will hold your cell bright.
I'm nearly falling asleep, so it's like telling me that I really need to hear this.
Deeply soothing to your soul.
Deeply resisting whatever you're saying. I can feel my energy go, trying to stop me from listening to what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because this is the real work.
Yeah.
This is the real work.
Yeah.
This is when we start to make a transition on this planet like we've actually never seen.
Yeah.
Our eyes have never seen what's going to occur here.
Yeah.
And that is when you have a population who've taken back control of their own being. And when you have a population that has control over their own being in cellular state, in word, in rhythm, in breath, in unity, in cooperation as one, that's when you overturn the power structures and the control that have been here.
Yeah, that are really amping up right now too.
Yeah, and the more that we look at what's right, the more we actually have a duty and a responsibility to look at what's wrong. We can't turn the other cheek in a way that's going to affect the future of this planet and the population here. So it's like you said, it's great responsibility to rise, and there's steps in the process, right? There's quite a lot of transition points for us in our DNA, and that means taking the individual ride. And then when you come to completion in that space, then you take on the collective. You take on the collective future, and you look at how you can assist, which is why you're sitting here today.
Because then you're powered up, basically. You can, it's a knowingness, isn't it? You know what you can do. Because it's just your very breath and the words that you utter that change things.
Yeah, I'm getting a really interesting, because I've been fanning on, like you've been fanning on Jesus, and I've been fanning on the fascia, like lately. Because for me, this whole journey around, like with Veda Austin in the water, and there's a lot of amazing people doing stuff around quantum physics and biology, like with the fascia and the photons in our bodies and how we receive light and our electrical currents. And when you're talking about this spark in our cells, for me it's like there's the whole overline of the spirit, mind, body, combination of how the energy, how these different communities are working together and coming through and bringing
all of that,
and interestingly enough, like this last week with Joe and I've been talking around freedom and allowing, and I've been doing it's been filtering through in lots of ways, and it's been very beautiful. But I've been noticing, and there's a couple of spots in my physical body as well that I've been struggling with for the last 6 months to free out through exercise and stretching and things. And these words recently, and it's what you coming back to what you said before about the timing, being in alignment. These words have been really powerful in my heart and my head, but in my body as well, with freeing out these misalignments, this congested energy. And I was been waking up the last couple of mornings going, oh, that feels so different. And I'm waiting for it to come back during the day, and it's not coming back. And it's kind of like, it's really exciting to feel that physical, mental, emotional shift. It's just fucking amazing feeling. It's really like, it's what you're talking about, because sometimes I'm thinking, how do we do this? How do we go about it? What is the, because we're hearing this and hearing you share this wisdom and this activation with what you're bringing through, Zhara. And I'm like, how does the listener embody that in themselves?
It's relationships and timing. So you have shifted your relationship with yourself first and foremost, and that's why you're having the physicality shift, because you're letting go of outdated beliefs, you're moving forward into your future, and you're allowing old relationships of harm to move out of the space.
Oh yeah, that's beautiful.
And so then that old pain and the physicality cannot stay. But we have to be willing to disassemble what doesn't work. And if I can say from a personal viewpoint or personal perspective and experience, each time, I have 2 children each with different dads, so they're 6 years apart. 2 different lifetimes. But each time I left the relationship because it was no longer serving, it was like my life just took flight. Spirit was there just saying, yep, okay, you're ready to do the work, because you've stepped out of something that was not in integrity for my soul or their soul. And so many times we try to keep each other in chains. And first and foremost, we have, because it's comfortable and it's what we've known, and it's
what make it work. I can change this.
All of it.
I can see the way.
All of it. And look, and some of them are you're meant to stay. Some of them you're meant to stay. It's an individual choice, and it's an individual journey, and it's your soul's gift that needs to shine. Is that relationship allowing your soul to fully shine?
Absolutely.
If it's not, can you make it work so that your gifts fully come online?
I think that if we're getting honest here, I think there's a lot of people that are trapped in that love program. God, I'm really
keep going, Joe.
But it's not to say,
Yeah.
like you said, not everybody has to pack up and leave.
No, we don't.
But just check in, you know, if you're listening to this podcast, first of all, you're
somewhere special.
You're somewhere special, yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
Thank
But
you.
you're wanting more. You know, you want
Yes.
to grow and learn, and you're asking for it, you know. And then, you know, check in with, is this relationship shining a light on all of my greatness? Or is it shining a light on all the things that I'm not good at? Is it feeding into the part of me that wants to feel that continually feels unworthy?
And relationships can grow. So if you
Yeah.
have a partner or a business partner or a friend or whatever colleague, boss, whatever relationship it could be, if your counterpart in that deal, because it's a bit of a contract, is ready to also see the same light that you're seeing, then it's a beautiful space.
Absolutely. And do they know that? Have you
Yeah.
opened the conversation up?
Yeah.
Exactly. Because the door's always there.
Yeah.
It's just about whether you're ready to walk through.
Yeah.
And so you have an ability to change any circumstance and any situation to make it work for you.
Yeah.
And that includes with partner, child, friend. It doesn't matter who it is, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes there is a gateway to let go,
Yeah.
because that letting go is the best thing you could possibly do for not just you,
Yeah.
but for them.
Yeah.
Because if we're not in full alignment with where we're meant to be,
Yeah.
neither are they.
Yeah.
Neither are they. And sometimes we have to fall. Sometimes we have to feel the pain.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have to go through that heartbreak in order to come to the other side, where the heart is healed and the heart is full and the heart is alive and dancing.
It's so beautiful. And this came up in a podcast the other day with someone that had to leave their partner because they're part of their connection to source,
Yes.
to Christ conscious, whatever, however you want to look at it, kind of not told them, but the feeling was that yes, this space wasn't the right space. And it was hard. It was really hard for her to do that because there was so much love there. But she also said, if it's supposed to be, then when I go and I restore myself and I'm back into my full power and all of that, and if that's relationships meant to happen, then it will just naturally come back. And it's like, absolutely,
Nothing's ever set in stone.
absolutely,
And isn't that is a, like we joke, say in the
that saying, let them go.
Oh,
Set them free. And
my
if it's
dad
meant
used
to
to
be,
say that all like towards the end. It was his thing around let it go, and if it comes back to you, it's meant to be.
Yeah.
It was
It's a beautiful saying.
because he was letting go of a lot of things, but in the 3D world or the business world, whatever, you know, hopefully the business world is changing with everything into the way business is ultimately meant to be, is exchange. You know, we joke about Gen Y and Gen X and the millennials and the, you know, all those things, and you know, the children that are coming through today, that they will not be in one job for their lifetimes like our parents used to be, or we try to be still, you know, start something and finish it. They will have multiple jobs because their way is getting excited about something, learning it, doing it, and then going, I can see over there, that's exciting me. I want to go learn that. And they take what they've learned and they go over there, or they completely let that go and they go and be something completely different. And you know, there's a resistance to the previous gens to going, but it's so hard to keep in employment, and you know, you can't get staff, and there's all this. But there's that transition in what you're saying, that we are meant to experience. And if it means, as you said before, that we sit under a tree and love all it is, or we are in the one job for our whole lifetime because it's what we love, or we find purpose, or it's our expression, so be it. But if we are in resistance to what our environment is, to have the courage and to have the openness to going, I'm going to try something new.
Yes.
That there's reward in that, isn't it, in many ways, and purpose for the person and others around, how that changes. Somebody else steps into that space, you find a new spot, you know, there's that interaction and connectivity that creates energy.
Because the universe works in harmony.
Yeah.
It doesn't work in control.
Oh.
It's a completely different rhythm. And we've been contracted, and the universe is expanding every day, every day. So that's in the cellular state especially. The universe is expanding.
Yeah.
And because that state wants to expand, it wants to keep moving forward, if we hold it at bay with medication or drugs or addictions or relationship, when it's no longer the timing, then that's when we find decay.
Creating chaos.
Yeah.
I was just thinking too of even like, getting fired from a job or whatever, however it looks, it's all divine.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
It's perfect. And if we got excited about that, what a shift that would be, just in even, our intentions, all of that. Like, imagine looking at getting sacked from a job and going, yay!
Wow, I'm not going to be able to pay the bills this week, but I know it'll happen.
Yeah.
It's like trust.
Universe, what have you got for me now?
Yeah, bring it.
Yeah.
Yeah. God, that would be,
Yeah.
And some people we've spoken to have kind of gone that. Well, okay, I've been waiting. This has forced me to just step into
Absolutely.
something else. And other people, it's kind of been that we've shared space with, it's been quite a detaching process or, resistance process of hanging in there.
Yeah, well, it could even be relationship, where the relationship, I don't know,
As examples.
infidelity and all of those things that can be just absolutely devastating is a gift too. Like, it's as in, you're not meant to be.
Yeah.
Time to move on.
And if you take that blind faith that the universe is working for you and combine it with intent, then we're on the right page.
Yeah.
Then we're moving forward. We've got to use our intent so powerfully right now, or else the chaos can continue.
Yeah.
Right? So, if you know where you want to be in 10 years' time, 20 years' time, 30, 40, whatever, other lifetime, if you want to go that way, right?
Yeah.
Then what do you need? And that's what the universe will provide by you stating your wish. And that's the choice that you get on this plane.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when I say about people who've been on and sharing different experiences around things that happen, when they're sitting in the chair, they're sharing their awakenings, and those experiences have brought them to where they are now and where they're able to look back and reflect, and it's been a point of empowerment. And as you say that, you can ask the universe for all the things, but unless you're taking action, as in the attributing intent and taking the moment by moment steps towards your intention, you're not participating in it all, are you? In the actuation of what is it you're asking for.
Yeah, we need all of it.
Yeah.
We need the intent first, because then that sets the trajectory of the energy in motion. So, what do you want to be today? I think that's the greatest question we could ever ask any listener, any friend. What do you want, or any child for that matter? What do you want to be today?
Yeah.
And if their answer isn't happy, then we need to deconstruct a lot.
Yeah.
Right? And so, what's going to make you happy? What's going to make your soul sing?
Yeah.
What is going to make you thrive?
Yeah.
And that's how your life looks, because that's what we're working with in this playing field. We're working with an experience here in the 3D, moving energy very quickly into 5D. But it's about that solid materialistic reality that we need to get in check for each one of us. And so many of us have just been taught to live by blind faith in another.
Yeah.
Right? Or we give up our own power for control. So it can take a little bit to understand, okay, what do I actually want in life? Right? And because it's going against the grain of every societal system, because they've told us exactly how to be our entire life.
Yeah.
You go to school, you do this, you get a job.
Yes.
You get a life, you get a family, you get a wife.
You
a
grow
dog.
up. You grow up. Grow up.
You grow up and you have to be responsible.
Yeah.
And you have to do this way and this that way. And
Pay
Yeah.
insurances,
Yes.
pay bills,
Yeah.
you
Yes.
know, answer
Live in
to all
fear.
that.
Yes, yes, and look, and we do to a certain degree. We have to take responsibility
Yes.
for what's in our space, but we can do it another way. We can do it so that we're happy
Yeah.
and we're thriving and we're enjoying this
Yeah.
life.
It's not controlling us.
Life's supposed to be fun. It's the most magnetic energy in the world when you're having fun. And if you're not, then something needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
And that could be in your own cells, right? The trauma held from lifetimes or from when you were a child.
Yeah, I'm just thinking it straight away. I think of the story, people wanting to have a story to identify with, you know, which just limits them and holds them somewhere. It's like, how's the story working for you?
And it's true. And you know what? My experience is that we need to express, but then we need to bless it on its way.
Yeah.
And as soon as you take that story and turn it into the greatest gift
Yes.
that you've ever received, then it's like, that pain is gone, and it shows up in the physicality, and it shows up in all sorts of ways in your life to create a completely different reality.
Yeah.
But it all comes down to, what do you want? What do you Amanda, you Joe, you listener, what do you want?
Yeah.
And as soon as you establish that as an individual, it co-creates with the collective field.
Yeah. God, it's even.
And that's the signs
yeah.
that you get.
Yes. Those beautiful synchronicities.
Yeah.
Whether they're synchronicities or not. That's the universe saying, hey, I'm here. Keep going.
Here's that reflection of the energy that you're putting out. It's in alignment with you. Keep going.
Yeah.
You're in alignment with this. Keep going.
You're on the right track.
Yeah.
You're on the right track. And even if it's a bumpy road, it'll at some point be smooth sailing. Right?
Yeah.
And I think too, like it's part of the freeing out of it is that it's, you know, and we've talked about this before as well, is taking the blame out of things, because that person isn't wrong because they've wronged you, or the experience that you shared has been traumatic or whatever. When you bring words like fun and play and alignment and allowing and freedom and intention, those words that give you room to be fluid and move and have an element of self expression and choice, immediately you just start to feel lighter and a different source of energy starts to come through.
And if you don't, those are the areas to address, right?
Yeah.
Because we all have them in one way, shape, or form. Childhood habits, childhood trauma or habits, I should say. But it's more of a breakdown of society that's going to reveal this new earth. But first, we need to break down the self. Where are we out of alignment with where we want to be?
Yeah.
We talked about this earlier too, before we jumped on, the word perception, which is such a powerful word. It always has been, but it's making a lot more sense these days. That people won't necessarily see things the way that you see them, and you really have to be okay with that. And when we are going through this journey, because it is a journey, it's a word that's thrown around a lot, but it is an evolvement. You know, we all have different stories and we all have different experiences, so the way that we see things can be completely different from the next person. And are we able to allow that along this journey that we're now asking for?
And look,
It's interesting. It's got to be okay with it all, and that's part of the what's the opposite of duality? What's in the middle?
that's the center line.
That's
And
the
that's
center
the
line.
heart.
That's the heart.
That is the heart. That is where everything exists.
Exactly. And I'm reading a book at the moment. It's all about this. You know, that the way through is when we are out of duality. And it's like you've just been like, oh, okay, that's a big one.
It's the only way through.
Because it anchors us to this planet.
Yeah.
In the most delicious way. Yeah.
And that's when you have the option to truly choose. Do I want to come back for another ride?
Yeah.
Or do I want to go another way?
Yeah.
And so when you find that center line, when you find the heart space, that's when you are truly activated, because you can see everything is a gift. Every person, every circumstances, even the most horrible ones.
Yeah. Yes.
Right? And you can see it from the eyes of the one, from source, where there is no judgment. There's no judgment.
Yeah.
Everyone came to play.
Yeah.
But then, things got out of hand here, so there has been a little bit of chaos in the form of control and loss of free will, and so that is our responsibility to take that back as a sovereign, individuated being of Christed light.
Yeah.
And that's why Jesus and the other masters who are here to teach this were so beautiful at it, because they taught peaceful protest, but they taught protest to a certain degree, which is to rebel in your cells. Your cells need to come online. Your cells need to fire up and be alive.
Well, even to the point where when he's on the cross, he says, forgive them, for they do not know. It's like, it's a powerful place to be.
Yeah. They don't know what they do. Yeah. Because if they did, they never would. Yeah. Because we are all the same self. We are all the one. We are the all-seeing I, right? I'm going to take that term back. We are all the one. Yeah. And we're playing a game. But right now it's a game for our life, and we have to be willing to kind of turn it on its head, see it from another perspective, and say, oh, actually, I'm going to choose joy now. Yeah. And I want that for my fellow human being. So then you just withdraw consent, where you've given your power away. And it's easy said and done sitting here in a podcast room, and it's much harder for people for example, Julian Assange, who's standing up for truth and free speech. Yes. And that's a light being who has come to this earth to make sure that we all look the other way and say, oh, okay, there is harm being done. We've got to stop it.
Well, they're trying to take him out now. They're trying to actually kill him.
Yeah. They've been trying to do it for a while.
I know.
But even more intently. But the stories that have been constructed around that being, that soul, have been amazing.
But he's still alive. Yeah. Which is wild, isn't it, in itself?
He's had a cat with him most of the time.
Yeah, he definitely has. Yeah.
Literally has, physically has.
Oh, really? Wow.
You cat people, you know what I mean. But anyway,
it's lots of power in there. Yeah.
But it's a perfect example, really, of someone who's imprisoned. Yeah. His modern day Nelson Mandela is more than that. But these I'll say the word heroes, because they are acting for all of us in their path.
These are the most selfless people in the entire world. The ones who will stand against corruption and stand against control and say, no, we can't do that. Yeah. And so I think now we really have an opportunity, because so many of us are becoming free, right? Because the power structures and the controlled environment on the planet kind of squashed our voices. Yeah. And now we have the ability to speak up. And so to speak up for people like Julian Assange, who's fighting for his life, because he fought for yours. Yes. Because he fought for yours. We actually have a duty and a responsibility to give him some care. So whether that's a prayer circle, whether that's a peaceful meditation in the park, or protest, at your counselor's doorstep, or however that works for you, because it can't feel mean to the self, right? So many people aren't quite ready to step up into that world, because it feels so discordant for where they're at. Yes. And so we all have to find a way that it's going to be beneficial to the self. But we do need to take this opportunity to rise. Yeah.
Well, it makes people uncomfortable knowing the truth.
Yes. It's highly uncomfortable. Yeah. You don't want to know about U.S. war crimes when your government's telling you that you're the best nation on earth. Yeah. And this is a man who's published video of U.S. war crimes, and they are trying to make sure that no one else speaks.
Yeah.
Right. This is an important point in the world where we can all turn our backs because we've been taught love and light, which is an important issue to be that space. But then when you find the heart and when you find the center place, you also have to look at all the shadows. You have to look at both ends of duality.
Absolutely.
In all its beauty and all its spectrum, and realize this is just a play. And
well, this is the perception view, and the word viewpoint comes in, because now you're seeing everything and you have understanding for it all. So you can sit there and go, oh, wow, look at this, look what's going on. And I was going to say before, just around the Jesus on the cross thing, that's just repeating now, just on a larger scale, basically what's happening on the planet.
Because we haven't woken up yet as a species, as a race. We haven't woken up and taken back our power and our right to exist, really, as an individuated race and as an individuated being. So when you harness that full intent of Christ consciousness, Christ delight in the cell, in the cellular mechanism, you're an unstoppable force. Yeah. And it's actually time for that.
It's threatening the...
It threatens everything.
Yes.
But it's actually okay, because this is a game. So on perspective, we need to look at this from the bigger perspective.
Yes.
Okay, torture and outright crimes against humanity, not okay. All the violence, like we could go on, and I won't. But all of this stuff, on one level, is perfectly divine. Yeah. Right? Because we're all co-creating this experience together to get to the place where we remember who we are.
We can be with it,
Right? When we remember who we are, we stop the harm and the violence. Yeah. Because we recognize, oh, I'm just torturing me, because we are all the same source. We are all the one. But on the other levels, and that's okay. And so that place, you can just sit and you can have a big Buddha laugh, right? You can kind of see you see duality, you see the middle, and you just see it. It's divine. Yeah. But when we step down into consciousness and into form, we actually have the responsibility and the duty to speak up for those who can't speak for themselves.
Yes.
Because Jesus did it for you.
Yes.
So did Julian Assange.
Yes. Yeah.
And now we actually, as that awakened Christ of light, we have the responsibility to take back our power and our voice, and to use it, and to use it well, and to create happiness and joy and a place that we want to live and bring up our kids. Yeah. And we have to do it in a way that's, for some it's not going to be peaceful, and for others it's going to be right on point. Yeah.
Right. And I think even bringing it even closer to home, because we have these amazing global beings doing work on behalf of the collective, but recently some family experiences and conversations, like my mother birthed me again, risking her, not risking, but letting go of her social status, marrying without family present, doing something that probably would have been a very difficult experience for her, for where she saw herself going in life, by basically just having a relationship with a man, falling pregnant, and then having to go through that experience in those times where it was highly judged, to be a good girl, and then being a naughty girl, obviously, these things, and then her sister also marrying a Catholic, and the mother going, well, we're not Catholic, how dare you, we're not going to your wedding, we won't talk to you for years, the father getting health symptoms, and then the family doctor bringing the family together and saying, if you guys don't sort this out, he's going to get really unwell. And and you look at the interplay in families and authority figures and things like that, and I think in our own family histories we've probably got a lot of these hero figures that we don't actually think about in that way. We look at, there's shame and there's guilt and there's secrets in the closet and all this kind of stuff, but if we look at it in the persona of, say, Julian Assange's and that same thing where people make brave choices despite themselves.
The black sheep.
The black sheep, yeah. We, it's kind of all around us in a way. But if we look at things differently, if we allow ourselves to see things differently, that's incredibly empowering, freeing, opening.
Yes.
Rather than just kind of it be something that closes you down, or that because coming back to what triggered that conversation I just shared was when you were talking about Jesus on the cross, and I was going through a little bit of a difficult time probably about 8 years ago. I used to have a recurring dream around being Jesus carrying the cross on my back up the hill to be put on the cross, like because part of his journey was he carried the cross himself along with the other two people up to be nailed on it. And I remember contemplating that so many times and thinking, what am I carrying? What is the
metaphor here?
Well, yeah, it's a big one.
Yes.
My emotional baggage, my feeling sorry for myself, my choices, my I'm going to die, all these kind of all this stuff was going on. There was a lot of, and I think there's a lot of resonances with Jesus' journey through our
a lot of people.
I don't know when you talk about the Christ consciousness, the divine spark within ourselves, there is so much resonance there. And we have it with Mary Magdalene as well, like male and female. We carry the resonance with her as well in her journey, but there's a lot to be. Again, coming around to my point is we can hold these people out here away from us, but when we bring them into us and go, okay, where does this person sit in me? What do I feel in myself about this person's or this being's life, or what I know of them, and explore the shadows around that and the light around that. That's kind of an interesting therapy.
Because they're all the reflection of you. So as you were talking, Amanda, about having that vision, it's because that actual instance still lies in your DNA.
Yeah.
We have the memories of all that is. Each one of us has to break through that barrier in one way, shape, or form to remember who we are as the original creator, as the original source. And that was your way through these trials and these tribulations and these pains at that particular time for you to experience suffering. But it's time for it to come to an end. And that's that's the resurrection day, right? When you see it for what it is. It's all a game.
It's all a game.
It's all a game. And that's and I don't want to put life lightly as well, because I know that we are going through significant hardships as individuated beings here, right? But you have to remember also that some of these souls chose to take on these particular curses or whatever they are, right? So that they could evolve to their highest potential. So on one level, we can't let it occur anymore in our own homes, in our own space, and on the collective field. On the other level, it's actually all okay. And now we just need to really choose and wish this is what we want for our own lives, our families, our communities, our planet, our nations, and it's I see it as a real crux point for us each to survive the coming years, because you do have a golden age that's appearing so brightly where people are cared for, and people recognize each other as one, and it's a beautiful, harmonious environment, and it's not still without grief, because people are coming to that place where they're still transitioning, the soul, but you have that timeline that's open for every one of us, but we need to get to the point where that can actually occur. And that is letting go of the control, wherever you're still holding on, wherever we're each still holding on, we're allowing it to be held on.
The story.
And something else that's been coming up is choose your battles. Because where our energy just leaks out into the old programs.
The default. We default a lot, don't we? And go, why did I do that? Why did I just play into that game that I've always played into, that I know better, but I just did it? But once again, it's all perfect for me to have a deeper kind of cut and go, okay, I needed to get that. So I know and I'm more aware next time.
Yeah.
Too. Like everything has a beautiful twist to it.
And even in the thought process, great, I get it. Great, I get it.
Yes.
Thank you, I get it.
Yes.
And that actually takes you on a little bit of a different twist than why'd I do that? Because each word has so much power and so much meaning in frequency and in energy.
Yeah.
And it puts you on a completely different timeline.
Wow.
But each timeline you can jump. So time's not fixed. It's not linear. So you can jump from this moment of severe pain and suffering to one of grief, where you get to the crux point of, oh, I'm actually just joy. Because we have to go through those cycles. We have to go through those patterns of where we've loved and lost, or where we've experienced significant pain. We can't shove them in the corner anymore. We actually have to bring them to the light. And feel it.
Yeah.
Feel the suffering. Because again, it's all perfect. It's all one, right? So joy, grief, pain, it's all actually the same energy field being used in just a slightly different way. So if you can integrate the entire energy pattern of your life into your cellular structure, that's when you get the eternal flame. And then when it burns brightly, you are an unstoppable force, because you recognize there's no right or wrong. No pain is greater than who you are. And that pain and that suffering is that essence of the self as well.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, that is beautiful.
Yeah, so beautiful. Because this is also part of, like, from a cosmic astrology point of view, the ending of the Piscean age, which also resonates with the Jesus vibe and story, into the Aquarian age. So we're going from the pain and the suffering, but I was listening to some philosophical and astrology ladies talking about this the other day, and it's about taking those gifts of what we've learnt in this Piscean age over lifetimes or over recently. But what you just said then was like, oh yes, it's the pain and suffering, it's the integration of that. It's not the avoidance of it or the shuffling it away and like trying to bury it. It's integrating it with the joy and taking it forward into this age of Aquarius. We're going to talk about it in astrology senses, where it is about the collective through the individual experience contributing to the collective for the better good. It is about the lightness of being. It is about the incredible golden age that is here waiting for us if we choose to help ourselves by transmuting that frequency of pain and suffering to joy and seeing it as a richness, that fertility that births the joy.
It's just spot on what you're saying, Amanda. And what if you could look at the suffering as joy? What if you could take all that pain and transmute it into light through your very breath and recognize that it is all one? That's when you have the infinite energy source available to you.
That's a big one.
Yeah. That's when your DNA ignites and you fire up and you can actually literally transmute light.
Wow.
And so when I say that, let me get a little bit more practical. It means you can change weather patterns with your breath, with your word, with your intent.
Wow.
You can move clouds out of the sky. I just need a little bit of sun. You can say, okay, stop the rain. Konayanasya, too much over here.
Yeah.
You can say, okay, oh wow, those clouds in the sky, those aren't natural, those aren't normal.
Yeah.
Let's take those to flight and bring something else in. You can turn cloudy days to bright sunshine if that's it you require in your matrix, right? Because it's a universal hologram. So I've experienced some really cool things with lighting up the cellular flame in my own cells. And it is a frequency that we have to hold, and it's a frequency that we have to be. And that requires so much love for the self and the other that you see through pain as the greatest gift. You see through pain as joy. You see it as all one infinite energy field. And that's when you actually find the 0 point.
That's when nothingness.
Yeah.
That's what was coming up. The nothingness.
That's the 0 point where all creation exists and nothing does.
Yeah.
And you make choice. You truly make choice.
Yeah. We actually had this conversation with Lee on Monday. This space of nothingness, but everything exists.
Where she
was able to
direct her consciousness.
Yeah, it was really
and
beautiful.
her connection with because around the feeling true love.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
and this is it. This is what I call the space in between.
Yeah.
Or it's the void. It's the center point, the 0 point, the halls of creation. Some may refer to it as.
Yes.
But that's when you sit, in essence, with the one, Gunayanastya, with the eternal self, and you create the life that you want to be, right? Because you are the life.
Yeah.
You're not living the life. You are the life.
Yeah, I just want to take a big deep breath after that one. That was pretty. I can feel that space. I can feel the availability. I also feel the swirling of stuff around it that wants to grab hold.
Yeah.
And that's the clutter and the chaos, and
Yeah.
that's okay. That's when you go to the beach, to the ocean, have a swim, submerge, allow the electromagnetic field to clear and to actually dust you off so that you have more clarity and more clean energy to be. That's when you meditate. That's when you do your practices. Whatever works for you, because we're all individual beings. But there's something, it could be going for a surf.
Yes.
Could be taking a day off work, right? But there's something that lights you up.
Yeah, a bath. It could be anything.
Yeah.
Water seems to be pretty powerful, though.
You know it is, and I actually have a lot of people submerging in life effects living water in baths. If I'm seeing them intuitively, it's very much they're like 3 times a day. I've got a couple people who are in there 3 times a day.
Yeah.
Some in there 3 hours at one time, first thing in the morning, and they're having significant changes in their energy field, and it's beautiful to watch because the power of the cell starts to come back online because we're lifting density from the physical form.
Yeah.
And so the ocean will do that really well. But if you don't have access to that every day, or you want a longer submersion that's warm, Life Effects is a good transmutation point to start to harness your own cellular grid.
Yes.
Because that's what we're doing. We're harnessing our own cellular light.
Yeah.
And it comes through the water streams in a variety of ways. It magnifies it, but it's already there. Does that make sense? So the water's purifying, it's cleaning, it's cleansing, and it's helping you ignite what is already there.
Yeah. There's a lot of talk about, the waters and how that is going to support us going into everything we've just talked about.
Yes.
Like, the oceans cleaning up our water, not drinking tap water, but even that side with that collective of what we just talked about, restoring it through maybe outside help.
It's all internal, it's all within, so it's all reflective in the field. But yes, I do see also alien intervention that's possible for us on these grid lines if we want that.
Yeah.
We just have to make sure we're not giving our power away.
Yes.
And that's going to be an individuated journey for each of us. But when it comes down to it, it will be a collective mission to decide. And that's why it's so important to wake up right now in regards to control and power structures, because it doesn't stop here. It doesn't stop here, and we have to really decide who we want to be on this earth and in galactic reality. And we have to say, okay, here's who I want to play with. Here's who I want to be with. Because just someone's off world doesn't mean that they have your best interests at heart. And I think as we move forward in the next, decade or so, it's going to be really important to remember that discernment in relationship, discernment in energy fields. What energy fields, Gunayanasya, what energy field do you want to be, and do you want to be taking part of in community and in relationship?
Yes.
That's exciting.
And so there's
Sorry.
No, I'm just
No, it's
thinking
good.
because, you know, there's all the layers of relationship and community. There's the most intimate, the micro within self, through to, as you say, out through the field into the galactic, you know, through so many layers. But what I was getting when you were talking around having the bath with the life effects, and I know also there's like the foot bath as well, you can do that too,
Yes.
can't you? Because it's like, you know, you can draw out so many impurities through the feet.
Yes.
Is the gift that the water wants to share with us, the consciousness that water has, with the memory that the water holds for us if we want to access water in a way with intention as well, is very powerful, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, Amanda. And so how I see it is water holds the memories of the all. Water is all things. So it holds every stream of collective consciousness in individuated reality in that molecule, in that cell, right? And so it's fractalized. Like the whole, you know, you've got the sea, you've got the ocean, but each molecule, each breath of life that shows up in the water molecule, right, is a pattern of the all. So you can amplify anything. So what's happened in the Earth's grids and in most of the planet's grids and the people's grids is that an energy of fear has been amplified. Yeah, so everything, all the water supplies, all the DNA, everything has been amplified in what I see as a magnetic reversal. So it actually takes your energy offline.
This is powerful. This is just for our listeners too. If you want to have an example of what Zara's talking about, Veda often does this when she puts the energy into water and then freezes it.
Yes.
It's very powerful.
Her work is great because she's showing, and I highly encourage everyone to look at it, because she's showing the power of your intent and how that manifests in real time.
Yeah.
Right. And water's is signaling us to wake up
Yeah.
to the fact that we can create a completely different Earth
Yeah.
if we want to. But we do need to remove the frequency fence around our own heads, our own brains, first and foremost. And that's a lot of the belief patterning and the energetic structures that are kind of inbuilt there. So we all have our own mechanisms. We could suggest probably 10 or 20 at this stage. But thoughts are where it starts, right?
Yeah. And we know we're made of water, so
yeah,
just have to put the two and two together.
So reprogram the mind to reprogram the matrix of the physical cell.
Yeah.
First and foremost. And so like life effects, it just functions
that.
a tool to
absolutely.
assist you in clearing your grids.
Yeah.
And the Earth's grids, because we can use it that way as well.
And for those of you that don't know, life effects is a frequency, a water frequency, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a vibration. So when you add it to your water, you're actually activating it.
Yeah, and so it's a mineral. It will actually purify and cleanse water and re-energize the water, which I find the biggest help for me in this primordial soup is that it actually fires and fuels the cells of the body, and so it really helps restructure the internal and eternal and external flame. So it basically it heightens your electromagnetic grids in physicality, but it will, in a very basic fundamental level, is clean, purify water from toxins.
Yeah.
And what I'm seeing with people, like as a practitioner, is that our bodies are showing a deep thirst for minerals at the moment, like and whether it's coming from, you know, the fact that our soils are demineralized, our water is polluted, we're surrounded by EMFs, you know, artificial environment, stress, all these, there's so many contributing factors you could go into, let alone what we're talking around in the etheric levels with this change of consciousness and the light waves that are hitting the planet and the awakening up that we're doing in our bodies, saying, please let me go back to being crystalline again, you know, let's bring back this life force. You know, our bodies are craving minerals, and so it's an incredibly easy way to add the source of something that's going to fuel your inner flame.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, and we have to right now, where we kind of fall behind with the energetic sequences on the planet, because Mother Earth is rising. She's showing her true colors, her true abilities right now, as is the individuated self. Yeah. But do you take the gift of who you are, or do you pass it by? Yeah. That's a critical choice point right now.
Say that again, Zara.
Are you ready to be who you are in this reality field? That is what you have got to decide. It is time to rise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My goodness.
That's
Well, it's we've come a long way in an hour 15.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask if
Yes.
we could do a little light language, maybe.
Yeah. I would love to. All
We
right.
might just sit in a little bit of silence, and I'll just hand it over to you. Beautiful, and you just take over.
All right. So we're going to set an intent in the field for us to come up to the true frequency of who we be. And then we'll let the energy do the work. So if you're willing to engage this field, all you need to do is put your feet up, put your head back, and relax. And we're just going to break down some of the barriers in the space. So in the head, mostly the etheric levels, where they told you were not. But you are. You are all of you. So you can take a deep breath. Focus on your intent and your intent alone. What did your soul come here to be? Did it come to be a wave of the future or a relic of the past? Please choose this now. If you choose for the future, there is no choice but then to be a bright light, to be a beacon of hope and a river of change. That is the crystalline grid coming back into form in the physical self. And it starts to mean that all else disappears. Everything that does not resonate with this light, with this magnificent Christed being that you are, it's not going to survive this transition. So what do you do in that moment in time where you have to make choice? You are going to need to grieve. Let it out. Whatever pain and suffering does not resonate with the soul's eternal grace, it's going to begin to leave the body. It will leave the physical form. And it is okay to cry. And you can cry for a week, you can cry for a month, or even a year, or 10 years if that's what it takes. But that is how you get where you need to be, to become one with the eternal self. And see yourself for who you are. When you see yourself as a vehicle for joy and pain simultaneously, you take back your own grids, and then you can ignite. Ganasutayana Sumayana Syataya. So do the work. Clean up. Planet and people alike. Don't think it's just an external thing. Ganasutayana Sya. Clean up the cell. What trauma do you still hold? What ancient patterns need to be seen? Because they are relics. Ganasutayana Sutayana Sutasutaya. And we do need to hold each other accountable coming into this new age. Kasitukonayana Sya. So when you stop the pattern of grief and suffering and pain, and it may go on for a while, but when you come through the other side, you will see things so brightly for what they are. You'll have no choice. You'll no longer be able to hide. And you'll be able to dance for humanity. And so all of that pain and suffering will have been Gunayanasya, exactly placed where it needed to be. Ganasutta Gunayana Sumayana Syataya. Enjoy the ride, my friends. It's going to be fun. Syanaya, 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 Gumaya. Gunasyataya.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Ganasutaya.